Welcome back to Spiro Avenue. I say never have funny people that are your friends in studio because I was laughing my ass off and almost missed the cue. But we are here with a good friend of mine, Sam. Some know him as Stick Day from Woodward Sports. And I'm not going to do any long diatribe or intro or tease anything. I'm just going to get right into it because I'm thrilled to have him. And he has a morning show to get to tomorrow morning. He gets up a lot earlier than I do. I watch his show every day from the couch in my boxers. So while you're up grinding, I'm on the couch watching you with my two kids on my arms in my underwear. So I know you've always wanted to hear that story of me watching you while I was in my underwear. But you are opening up this wonderful network, 5 months ago now, right? Where are we at?
Yeah, we're right at 5 months.
5 months.
October 1st is when we first started working full-time on it.
So Woodward Sports, a lot of people that watch the show, we had Adam in from Woodward Sports, about 2 weeks ago now. A very well-received show, smart guy. You know my feelings for that gentleman. He's wonderful. And, you're still kind of getting out there and you're making more and more headway as we go. I think what you've been able to do in such a short time period is pretty impressive. And just the scale that you're at, we could go down the list of things, your toy drive was $75,000, right? Or something in that.
Yep.
Did I get that right?
Yep.
So I'm just impressed with what you've done. And for those of you guys that aren't familiar yet with Woodward Sports Network, check them out. They're basically on everything, right? I mean, Facebook, YouTube. I know I follow you on those platforms.
Yeah, that's the strategy right now is go everywhere, be everywhere for everybody. And, that's part of doing podcasts like this, letting people know about us. And, really how we've snowballed so quickly has a lot to do with Chad Johnson. I mean, he's just been great to work with and really taking an idea and, being like the Grant Cardone of it and just 10Xing it. And that's where we're at.
And, those in Michigan, and 99% of our audience is watching from Michigan. Chad Johnson, for those of you who don't know, the Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men, obviously a very popular chain. A lot of people know Chad Johnson from his commercials that were at Comerica Park on the board. That's actually how I became familiar with the brand.
Yeah, me too. Sitting in Comerica Park waiting for my free haircut in that row. Like, come on.
Right.
He's yelling and, it's wicked awesome.
I didn't know he had any interest in sports other than obviously advertising and using the medium, and that's his demographic. But, the thing, and we're doing our little Diet Coke caffeine-free in my basement version, our little Wayne's World version of what you guys are doing in terms of trying to penetrate the digital sports media. And so, I know where I stand on this, but I'm not interviewing myself, and no one's interviewing me. I'm here interviewing you. I'm curious for your take on this. It is a challenge, and what we're both doing, although going about it in different ways and different scales, is kind of ballsy because it's such a saturated market. Every asshole has a podcast.
Yep.
Every asshole has a podcast. Like, I know more people with podcasts and I know people that don't have a podcast. It's like it's almost bizarre if you're a sports fan and you don't either have your own podcast or you co-host somebody else's or you're a regular guest, appearing on somebody else's. Right. It's one of those three. So this isn't, I have a day job. So I'm doing my thing during the day. I'm in a nursing home and helping administrate. And I'm also a full-time grad student, so I got all this other stuff going on. This is you're all in. This is what you're doing. I'm curious, what is sort of the end goal? Like, what does success look like to you? What is we made it? We're happy with where we're at.
That's such a loaded question, because it keeps evolving. Like at first it was, hey, we got a studio. That's a success. Hey, we're on 2 different platforms. Hey, we're now on 3 different platforms. Like, we got Joey coming over from, Mojo and 955. That's a success. Oh, now we got, Joik Bell. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's tough to explain because of what I said. It's just been snowballing so fast. But the end goal is to be the greatest and be the biggest and, compete eventually down the road nationally and take this to other markets and really establish ourselves as like the cutting edge way of digital media and how it's done. Because yes, we have our podcast, but we also have our live shows. So we're kind of like a hybrid and we're not really a radio, but we're not really TV. So it's just this. it's this weird hybrid that we really feel that's where media is going.
The thing that I like about what you're doing and what I like about the format in general, I had, Michael Stoney from 97.1 in about a month or so ago, and he's, and I told him nothing I didn't say to his face. I said, I think he has an antiquated view, because I actually mentioned Woodward Sports during that interview and just digital media in general. And, his perspective is, radio is always going to be king. And, I happen to disagree. I think the future, if we're not already there, we're on the doorstep, is more kind of in the lane that you're going. And, 97.1, if I want to listen to 97.1, I have to take every 12 minutes a commercial break. And it's with you guys, I've been a religious watcher of your program in particular. I don't love everything you guys do. Not that I'm anti, UFC, like you have a UFC show. It's not that I'm I don't dislike the show. That's not appealing to me.
Right.
But like your core 2-hour show, I don't have endless commercials. When you do have a break, it's like grow green for 30 seconds and then we're right back to it. I mean, do you see yourself sort of, not you alone and Woodward Sports alone, but sort of people in your coterie, in your genre, replacing radio? Because you came from a traditional radio background.
I mean, I've worked at radio for 20 years. Like, that's what I've done my entire life. Programmed radio stations, done night shows, done afternoon shows in multiple markets, been syndicated in multiple markets. And even radio, you see, I worked for iHeartRadio, and even you see that they're going to the digital, they're pushing their app. They're constantly pushing their app. They're pushing the digital end of listening. So I think even radio knows that that's where listening is going. I love radio. Like, it's been the biggest part of my life, and it'll always be there. But just like AM went away, FM will eventually phase out because everybody has their radio on their pocket and everybody can tune into their favorite app, and it no longer has to be in my car on that dial. I can take it anywhere with me. And that's kind of the beauty of what we're doing. It's just on-demand programming.
And even to whatever extent 97.1 and other stations are trying to keep up, like, they have the radio.com app, and again, something I talked about with Stoney, where, he's like, oh, you can get the show and you can rewind it. It's like, Stoney, have you ever used that app? He said, no. It's the most cumbersome thing ever. It's like you rewind it a minute, it's like it's spinning. Yeah, it's just horrible. I just, as someone that was in radio, you said 20 years, right?
20 years, yeah.
20 years, and my first ever producer, Jed Schilling, knows you, called you the best programmer he's familiar with in the state of Michigan.
Oh, that's nice of Jed.
And he's probably watching now. He watches all our stuff. He's a great guy. He's actually down in Florida working for
with Joe.
Yeah, Jack, Joe Radio. Yep. So, he said, like, when I was telling him about, we talked kind of off the record about, like, what you guys were doing, not like that, off the air, I should say, not off the record, about what you guys are doing. And he's a believer in you personally. I'm curious, so given your radio background, do you see yourself and people in your genre replacing them entirely? Are they going the way of the dinosaur? Is it going to be kind of side by side?
They're not going anywhere. Like, the established brands aren't going anywhere, but the problem that I see with radio right now is they don't establish brands anymore. Like, it's real easy to syndicate somebody from out of market, and they're not doing, appearances. Like, once this thing gets going with Woodward Sports, and, you see Darren McCarty hanging out, like, for the Woodward Dream Cruise, we're right there. Darren McCarty wants to perform with Grindr. You're going to have Joey taking his shirt off with something shaved into his chest. And that used to be the beauty of local radio, is you could touch it, you could feel it. And the more that they syndicate out and, delocalize it, I guess is a way to put it, it hurts them. But I don't see them going away. It's always going to be an outlet. I just see, the listener evolving and the way they consume media evolving.
Yeah, maybe not go away, but they will be minimized, is my prediction. That's where I see it.
But going. Like a Mike Valeni, he's going to be successful. Like,
he's too good.
He's too good, right?
Yeah. Right.
I love Valeni. I respect Valeni. We want to go at Valeni, because that's our audience. That's our target audience. I think he's one of the smartest guys I've ever heard on the radio. But at the same time, like, their weakness is they have to drive people to listen to radio, because if they don't get their ratings. So they can't go live on, all these other platforms, because they need the people. Detroit's a PPM market, which, not to get too radio geek on you and all that stuff, but radio, it's like a pager you wear, and radio sends out a frequency, and that's how it measures ratings. And there's only maybe 1,000 to dictate a couple million people. So one meter can throw off a whole station's ratings. and they have to drive traffic to those meters, otherwise they can't get ratings, and then they can't sell it. And now all of a sudden you're not making money, and now you're definitely going away.
Right, and you're kind of playing to a false metric. I mean, you're kind of like singing to this little robot instead of like an actual resonating.
And that's another thing with us. It's a provable quantity. Like, hey, here are other downloads. People went out of their way. You know they're listening to this entire hour. And, with us, like, the commercial lives on forever. If you buy a commercial spot on the radio, you get 15 seconds.
Yep.
And if you're not in the car in that 15 seconds, the listener didn't hear it. With ours, you go back and listen to the morning show like tomorrow, it's still there.
Right.
So that's a better business model moving forward too, I think.
I just think that's where it's at. Now,
yeah.
Backing up, I don't know, about 90 seconds. So, you mentioned that, you respect Valenti, you like Valenti, but you do view him, you want to go after him. You want to go after his market share. You want to go after his listeners.
Oh, yeah.
I'm curious because you've made remarks, and I don't know how willing you'll be able to get into this on air, but we'll see. But you've made remarks on your show that have been sort of, I would put them in the cryptic basket where some people are against you locally. People have done things against you locally. People, is that fair? I mean, you have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, can you elaborate on that? Even if you don't name names, like what have you met resistance in town? Are people like anti-Woodward Sports already?
I mean, anytime you start something new and anytime people feel you as a threat, which I always take as a compliment, you do get people that are trying to call your clients and tell them, hey, these guys,
that's happening.
That's happening in this city.
Already.
Wow. And people we respect and people we know and people we love. But, once business is business and people... it brings out the worst in people sometimes, and sometimes people you wouldn't think would have those abilities or even thoughts to go against you, but they do, and that's part of starting anything, though.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean,
it's a compliment to me. Otherwise, my favorite line is "No one boos a bench player." Like, I've never booed the 12th man on a team before, besides Darko. I've never booed the 12th man on a team before because you don't care about the 12th man. You care about the guy that's whooping your ass. That's the guy you boo.
The question, so, we talked about how flooded the media market is, local, national, and the Every Asshole Has a Podcast thing.
Right.
And we'll finish on this as far as the Woodward Sports angle goes. If you're going to tell someone, like, why should I give a shit? Why should I listen? Like, because that's something we talk about here is like, okay, why are we different? Because there are a million podcasts.
Yep.
We try to give some perspective and a quality of production. If you're telling someone, look, there's a million podcasts. Why do I give two hoots and how about this new Woodward Sports thing? What do you say to that?
I just tell them that it's, to me, it's all about personal and it's all about being local. Like me and you both agree on this fine gentleman right here.
Colin Coward on set here.
Right. And anybody can give me the stats, right? I can go to Yahoo. I can Google the stats. I can find out whatever I need to find stats wise. But as soon as you find a connection with somebody, as soon as like you realize, like you and Adam, like before we went on, you're like, I didn't even know he was a nobody to me at first, and not that Adam's a nobody. I don't mean it like that, but
I didn't know who he was.
Exactly, exactly. And now he's one of your favorite people because you've grown to know him and grown to love him, not only because of his sports opinions, but because of his demeanor, because of how he handles himself.
I'm bummed when he's not on.
Yeah.
I flew on your show all the time. I'm like, I'm always happier when I see his golf has, was it Callaway or whatever the fuck it is, or Callaway? Right?
Always Callaway.
I'm not a golf guy. I don't know anything about
it. Adam's a tremendous golfer. He's a tremendous athlete all the way around.
He's my quarterback, I like to say. He's a high school quarterback. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you seen the footage of him? You can Google him or you can look him up on YouTube.
I haven't.
Oh, do it, man. You're that big of a fan. Look up Adam on YouTube.
I'll check him out. So, I've said it from the beginning, and, you're the second representative of your network. You have been on here and a big supporter of what you're doing. You and I have a number of disagreements on sports stuff, but that's sort of the beauty of it. And we're going to get to that. But in terms of the Woodward Sports thing, just wish you well. And I have been saying forever, I have been begging for years. I mean, years before I knew you, please, some rich guy with FU money, just come in and be like, fuck it, I don't care. Like, we're going to take the town down. And you are the first person with Chad Johnson and your partners that are taking a stab at that. So, I mean, I'm your biggest fan in terms of just like, get it done. I'm rooting for you, seriously.
Yeah, it's been a tremendous partnership with everybody, and that's what's really making this work. Is we're all a team, we're all in it together, and we're going for it. That's it.
Oh, that's
we got
good.
no other choice, man. Like you said, this is my only job now,
Right.
man. I gave up everything. I turned down a 6-figure job that I was gonna have to move out of state for this. This is it, man. We're going for it.
Well, yeah, and I don't want to get too depressing, but I know you did have a good friend of yours that had passed away tragically, and that was sort of your spark, right? Like to finally kind of. I mean, I don't want to put the words in your mouth. But.
No, it was the kick in the ass I needed. Like whenever you lose a good friend or you lose somebody close in your life, you just reevaluate things. And I was doing marketing for a couple companies. I love marketing, creative billboards, funny stuff like that. I love doing that stuff, but at the end of the day, I just didn't have the outlet I wanted. And, I've always loved sports. We always loved sports together. And it was just something that she pushed me towards this. And it's crazy to what it's developed into. And so happy to be with the people that we're with now.
Yeah, you're fledgling. I mean, you're just getting started. So I'm excited to follow you. I think obviously anything that Adam's done is the best. But outside of Adam's work, my favorite thing you guys have done was it was taught, I think off the cuff, but you did like a 5-minute video about like, this is why I'm doing it and like, go get your dreams kind of thing. It was,
yeah, that was one of those moments. Like I was just sitting in the studio alone, like it was one of those nights. Me and Adam have been getting in at like 6, 7 a.m. since, the beginning of this. And, I was sitting there at like 7 at night, just looking around, and it was like, holy shit, like this is really happening. Like we're going for it, and we got the right people behind us. We got, the visionary behind it that's really pushing it to the next level, even beyond what I could have ever conceptualized it being, putting the right people in place. So it's just been a blessing the whole time.
Well, wish you well. You and I are cut from the same cloth in many ways. We love radio. We love traditional radio. We both believe in this new medium. The bromance is over. We're about 15 minutes in.
Here comes the Lions talk.
Here comes the Lions. And you and I have been warring factions. And I mean, you have the megaphone. You're on the show. I'm like the fucking ant, like in the audience. Just like,
You're in the building.
Yeah, right.
I'm in the building. Damn it.
Yeah, just yelling in the back of the room. So this is where look, and you're not the first person to sit across from me and be the yin to my yang. I'm the cynic, and that's certainly not unique to you. Most people are to the positive side of my negativity. So you're in a very crowded room of people that are more glass half full than I am. But the Lions thing, I don't get it. So the big news of the day, technically, obviously, is Brad Holmes. I'm not going to be getting into a deep dive discussion about Brad Holmes as the GM. I think we both seem to be okay with it. We don't know much about him.
Right.
Who knows?
I know that he's bringing analytics in, and that's the new hotness, and we haven't done it before, and here we go with analytics in football.
Right. And you being a huge, Lions fan, Slappy, whatever. I mean, even you're like, who knows? Sounds great. And so I'm not going to pretend for the sake of content that I have some huge opinion on Brad Holmes. It sounds great. But I do have a huge opinion on the coach. Now, we had very different reactions to this, and I don't believe you run your Twitter page, but I think it's representative of sort of your perspective and your general attitude, which is completely different from mine. So, Ben, if you can throw up the Woodward Sports reaction.
Boy.
Dan Campbell is, the news is leaking out that Dan Campbell is going to be the
that's me. That's me posting that. Yes.
So, obviously a lot of our audio listeners have no idea what the hell we're laughing about. So you have this tweet of, it's the South Park PC principal, which that is hilarious.
Oh, dude, he looks just like PC principal.
He does look just like him. But your reaction is to be like, Campbell's ready to roll, go Lions, hashtag. And I'm the flip side. Like I said, I'm the yin to your yang. My reaction, quite a bit different. Same day, I was railing. I mean, I could have thrown up any number of tweets. Ben, I'll throw up one, I guess. I could have done a slideshow of my ranting. Same day as you saying go Lions, hashtag Dan's ready. Quote, I still can't believe the Lions spent 2 months on their coaching search and landed on a tight ends coach whose entire philosophy is, quote, be tough, run the ball. We'll be doing this again in 22 months, meaning the coaching search. yin to the yang. And by the way, look how many likes I had on that. So I'm not the only jaded person in this town.
Oh, no. I was going to say, like you said, a lot of people are on my side. I think the easiest thing to be is a jaded Lions fan and a cynic for the Lions, because history has proven you right over and over and over and over and over and over.
Where do you stand, though? I mean, because your tweet is, you talked about on your show, but, for those that didn't watch.
Yeah.
Where do you stand on this Dan Campbell thing? Because I think it's a joke, and I'll get into my take in a minute.
Here's how I always explain my Lions fandom to people. Like, if I ever have a son and he plays for a Little League football team and they're a shit football team, you know what I'm going to be doing every Saturday? Rooting for that football team, because that's my son's football team. I was born a Lions fan. I didn't choose this life. Like, this is where I was born geographically. And I grew up a Lions fan. So, loyalty is just a part of, and optimism is a part of who I am. And I'm always going to take, all right, I'll give this a try, because why not? I mean, it's really I don't understand never enjoying the game ever.
Oh, I'll enjoy it if they run like a competent organization. It's not like I'm a cynic across the globe. The Red Wings have been horrible for half a decade, and I'm like, you know what? Shit, I saw them win 4 cups. They have like a 10-year grace period before they have to be good again, and they're going to beat the clock on that because they have the best GM in sports, or in hockey anyway. But the Lions, they've never, ever repaid you, never given you any pleasure. Look, I sit here across from you as a huge Lions fan, begrudgingly. Okay, I kind of hate the Lions, but I love the Lions. It's a love-hate. I want them to do well. I'll be the first one at the parade if they win.
It's my team, man. That's my quarterback.
That's my team.
That's my team.
It is my team, but but what is I asked you, why do you like the Dan Campbell hire? And all you're giving me is, I just wanted to explain my Lions fandom.
Okay, fair enough. For the Dan Campbell thing, it's who else was there? Okay, if we didn't get Bieniemy and we didn't get Saleh, those are the two guys that it's could
have had Saleh. They didn't like Saleh. He would have walked here. I have that on good authority from one of his best friends that he grew up with. He wanted to come here. He would have come here over the Jets. The Lions had no interest. In the entire list of everyone that was out there, Arthur Smith.
I didn't want Arthur Smith.
I'm not saying he was my first pick. I would have taken him over PC Principal.
I wouldn't have. I didn't want Arthur Smith. Take away Derrick Henry from that offense, and you're the offensive coordinator. What the hell are they?
That's fair. But what do you like about Dan Campbell, who's a tight ends coach?
Well, also assistant head coach. You keep eliminating that from the
bullshit. Rod Marinelli had the assistant head coach title in Tampa. It means nothing.
Okay,
it's something you give to someone. It's a pat
I can play the McVay card. McVay was a tight ends coach before he became one of the greatest offensive minds to ever grace the NFL. And you got to give these guys a chance. I mean, they spent time in the game. The thing with Campbell is he already has head coach experience sucking. He sucked with the Dolphins.
The interim head coaching does not count. You're not preparing a training camp.
You're learning on the job.
It's an internship. It's not head coach experience. It's the biggest asterisk of head coach experience on the planet.
But it's head coaching. It's on your record.
Okay, that's fine. You're talking about, who was talking about McVay. McVay, when he was hired, no one knew if it was going to work to the extent that it did.
Right.
But when he was hired, what you read about him was X's and O genius. He's a whiz on the board. When I'm reading things about Dan Campbell, it's leader of men, and he's tough, and the Oklahoma drill. But nothing about him being a tactician.
But we're back at that stage of where the Lions need to be. We're back at the Jim Schwartz era, where we need the rah-rah guys to pick these guys up off their ass because they've been beaten down for 3 years by some dude who tells them he's going to end their careers. He's trading his best players away because they disagree with him. It's a psychological thing. You need the rah-rah guy at this point. Then we're going to upgrade to the real coach.
So you look at him. You look at him like Joe Biden. I'm a transition candidate. I'm a transition coach. That doesn't inspire confidence. But I've talked about on this show. I've railed, and this is where we do agree. I think from day one I said, and Saleh would have fit this box just as well or better than Campbell. But they had to take a reparative approach with their hire. I think the players coach concept can be overstated and overrated, but in this case, they had to.
I mean, look how they responded to Bevel, and Bevel's not a head coach by any stretch of the imagination. But he's like, I'm going to let them play with their hair on fire. We're going to have fun. And they're like, hell yeah, coach, let's do it.
On the heels of Matt Patricia. I mean,
exactly. Mr. yelling at reporters for not sitting up straight, never showing up on time to his own damn meetings. He was such a piece of trash to everybody that you need the guy that's like, let's just play football, guys. Smash them in the mouth. I'm a big, hopefully Campbell picked up a lot from, Peyton and instills it. I mean, he's already they named the DC. They're bringing their defensive back coach from the Saints. So, I mean, I don't know. It's something. It's better than we had.
This is not, okay, let's not say much. This is, I'm telling you right now, I've had some bad takes in my life. We all have if you say enough shit. You, just like me, we are conveyor belts of opinions. But I will venture to say that this will go in my good basket. This is not going to work. The people, like you and the media, the fans that are advocating for this have no evidence. It's just give it a try. He's tough. Patricia was awful. Couldn't be any worse. Those are not ringing endorsements. They're just not. You're giving me nothing to work with.
But that's the case with any new coach.
That's not true.
It's
we
true.
just talked about Sean McVay.
Yeah, and before that, you just said people didn't know if that was going to work out. And there you go.
No, but here's the difference. Here's the difference, though. With Holmes, we're going back to the GM. We don't know with him either, but he checks some of the boxes I want to see. Extremely into analytics. Tough means nothing to me. I know a lot of tough guys. The maintenance guy at the building I help manage is like the toughest guy I know. I don't want him running football ops. I don't want him running the personnel.
No, Matt Millen was a tough guy, and that did not work out well.
Exactly.
No, I'll give you that. But
nothing.
That doesn't mean Dan Campbell is just a meathead. I mean, granted, we made fun of him.
He looks like a meathead. But look, I hope he's great. Look, I hope that
he was on the 0-16 team. He knows about what the Lions need for culture, man.
Look. I think we agree that this is an improvement over, God forbid, bringing Patricia back. I mean, that was done. And we had Kyle Menke from MLive in our last show before you. And, he was talking about, I asked him point blank, I said, was this gone for Matt Patricia in year one? Was it too far gone? Was he too toxic in that first year? Kyle's around that team every day, covers it professionally. His position was Patricia just nuked it in year one. Year two and then three.
When he made them practice outside for an indoor game, that's when he lost them.
For no reason. Well,
that's when you lose pros.
Right.
It's like, we'll do anything for you. We'll run through walls for you, coach, if it makes sense.
Exactly.
And it didn't make sense.
No. And calling, Darius, so what did he say? Like, don't suck. Was it Fitzgerald or Hopkins? I think it was Hopkins.
Yeah, because he paid him a compliment on Twitter or on Instagram.
Patricia was such a boob, man. This Campbell thing, look, I always say this with any Lions analysis, criticism, however you want to phrase it. I hope I'm wrong. I'm dying to be wrong. If you come back here a year from now, 2 years from now, and you want to laugh in my face, look, they're 11-5. That's great. I will take it. I will bathe in your criticism. I just get the shower out and shower me with the criticism. But I don't buy it. The best version of this is they like them and they're 8-8, 9-7. You see Dan Campbell, be honest. You even said he's more transitional. Do you see Dan Campbell, obviously not next year, but year 2, year 3, year 4, if it gets there, you see this guy going 12-4 and ending the 30-year history, the 30-year streak of them never winning this division? He's not that guy. He's the wrong guy.
A lot has to happen for that to say. Like we're in a transition period. We can acknowledge that with Stafford, right?
That's right.
So we can agree that he's kind of a transition coach. I don't think he will, but damn if he does. I'd be happy for it.
So
I think he's got a better chance of going 12-4 than 4-12.
You're a smart guy, and you're not giving me anything, and that's the point.
What is there to give you? There's nothing.
Exactly.
There's nothing. But that's the point. That's the point with new anything. I know, but you could. There's Adam, prime example. You didn't know shit about Adam, but now you love him. I'm going to keep going back to Adam on this. And it could be your Dan. He could be your Dan Campbell. We don't know shit about this guy, but
okay, fair enough.
He turns out to be the greatest thing ever. I don't know, and that's the bottom line. You don't know, and that these are just opinions. And you can't prove to me that he's going to be bad.
No. But it's there's better gambles, more calculated risks I would have taken, or less calculated risks I would say.
Yeah, I would have loved Saleh.
That was my guy.
Let's be honest.
That was my guy.
I would have loved Saleh, but we didn't get him, and so
they didn't want him, and that's a key distinction. If you wanted Saleh and he was enamored with the Jets ownership group, which he'd be the first one, but that's fine. I can sleep at night with that. What I can't sleep with is a guy that I think was clearly more qualified, clearly a better option. and we chose to go in a different direction. And that's not my perception. That is inside information. I don't have all. Well, we've talked about it on this show. I am very friendly with one of his best friends. If this were 97-1, they'd be playing the siren. I have I have a lot of baseball and hockey contacts. I have almost nothing in the NFL except Robert Saleh contacts. He would have walked here. He wanted to be here. The Lions did not want him. And
why do you think they didn't want him?
They didn't like the interview. They were in
that kid from Houston that wasn't a fake blog.
I talked about it with Burkett and Kyle too. I think it was on the show with Kyle we were talking about. I can't remember. We spoke for like 2 hours after a cut, but we talked about that. It's not. They didn't buy that he interviewed poorly. He just didn't wow them. That was the percent. Burkett actually is pretty well connected with the Lions organization and that ownership group.
Right.
It wasn't that the guy in Texas kind of phrased it like he just interviewed poorly. That wasn't really the case from my understanding. But they were enamored with Campbell, which is fine. That's great. It's their team. But I'm not going to sit here and you have this guy who's dying to come here, who's more qualified, who has actually coordinated a unit to exceptional results and standards with no healthy players.
Endorsed by Richard Sherman. Richard
Sherman, who hates everything.
Right.
Yeah, it's like I think it's a mistake, and I think we're going to learn the hard way that it was a mistake. I want to talk a little bit. I want to get on something I think we kind of agree on at least a little bit.
Oh.
But just because we're going to yell at you the whole time you yell at me, it's I love you, but fuck, you're a homer with this Lions team.
I'll gladly admit, right? I'm always going to side with the Lions, I have that stupid optimism, and when it pays off, it's amazing.
Oh, that's fair. I'm a cynical asshole, so I
was going to Piston games when Jed Bushler was running point, and it paid off to a 2004 championship, and those were some of the best memories because I could talk about. Well, I was watching them when Jed Bushler was running point.
Yeah, Judd Bushler. Don't get his name wrong.
Whatever. Who the hell Bushler?
Have a little respect for
Bushler.
Judd. Yeah. Judd Bushler.
Oh, man.
Guy had one skill, which now it's funny. Now he'd actually be pretty valuable. He could just shoot threes. That's all he did. But back then it was like frowned upon almost.
Yep.
But anyway, getting into someone I think is common ground, and we'll explore it. This was a town that had a media figure bring about national attention this past week. And it ties into this Dan Campbell thing. Free Press reporter named Marlo Alter writes an article. Ben, if you can throw up, we'll keep it all on Twitter. This is like, I want to call it a 3-part play, but it happened so fast it's like a 3-part skit. So this is the tweet from the Free Press, January 15th. Dan Campbell, Detroit Lions coach, is the front runner. He made a controversial anti-gay remark in college. So this is an article from Marlo Alter in the Free Press, January 15th, talking about Dan Campbell making an anti-gay remark 20 years ago when he was a college
I love
kid.
the search that you have up there.
Yeah. Well, Dan Campbell, I'm not even going to repeat that for our 60% audio audience. So the Free Press puts this out there January 15th. It's like, not even an hour later. They're already responding. People go into this reporter's tweet history. I don't even know who thought to look if someone was just new.
The internet.
I know.
The internet knows.
It happened so fast.
Yeah, it's the internet, man.
I know, but the speed of it, somebody had to have known that guy, and known that he said that shit. Who would even think to look?
Hopefully it's Dan Campbell's PR team.
That would be pretty funny.
What? Fuck this guy.
But they throw this out there. So the news is out there that Dan Campbell's the guy and whatever. So immediately transition to not even 2 hours later, they have to address these people that are now calling out the Marlo Alter. Ben, if you can throw that up there, if you have it. I don't know. There we go. Quote, also January 15th, not even 2 hours later. We are aware of and investigating reports of inappropriate tweets by a member of our staff. So this is happening very, very fast. Okay, so people are hammering them saying, hey, assholes, with this Dan Campbell story. Look at this reporter. This guy's like a member of the KKK if you go strictly by his 2012 history. It's a mighty high horse he's on. So it's not even an hour after that tweet. We're on the step 3. We're on the act 3 of this skit. Where Marlo Alter, Detroit Free Press reporter, here it is. Believe me, this was also January 15th. Those that can see the image will just
look
laugh
how
at
many
the ratio.
likes. Look how many likes and look how many responses.
It's got like a 25-to-1 response to like ratio. So here's the quote from Marlo Walter. This is like 2 hours after the beginning of this terrible situation. Quote, I apologize for the unacceptable tweets from my past. There is no excuse for the language I used, and I'm embarrassed. I do not condone that language. I am sorry to anyone I have offended and deeply regret my actions. So this whole thing is in a basket and done with a bow on it within 2 hours from that article's out, where Dan Campbell made an anti-gay remark 23 years ago when he was 20 in college, to people find Marlo Walter, the reporter, search. They search his history. They out him as, I'm not going to say they out him as a homophobe, but they out him as someone that said racist and homophobic things in the past. So, right, indisputably, is that fair?
I mean, yeah, what he said was a lot harsher than what Dan said.
Oh, tenfold.
Tenfold. Like he was using the words you can't use. And what Dan said was more pro-straight than anti-gay.
Well, yeah.
It was inappropriate either way.
Right.
But what Marlo said was just, I mean, and the fact that the guy called out Dan Campbell, just how unaware can you be?
I know. And how do you not because I'm sorry. Everyone that uses that type of language or used it prior is not suffering amnesia. You know that you spoke like that before. If I'm writing an article that is likely to gain traction on at least a regional scale, if not a national scale, there's no way, if that stuff's in my history, I'm not auditing myself and going through and cleaning that up. I mean, he really should have done it a long time ago anyway.
Here's the thing, you can't.
You talked about this on your show.
I did.
Is that true?
It's 100% true.
You can't delete your tweets?
You can delete it from your profile,
yeah,
but you can't delete it from history.
Can we not teach people how to do that? Because I'll be what is it, 9:30? I'll be canceled by 10. No, you will not find N-words and,
And that's the thing. I mean,
F-word. You might find other stuff.
Dude, the way people have grown up and these, not that we're old men sitting here, we've grown up with Twitter and social media and all that, like MySpace, and we grew up in that era. But these kids have put every thought that they've had out since they were 15 years old. I was the dumbest kid alive when I was 15 years old.
Yep,
the stuff that was coming out of my mouth, is nothing to do with the man I am today. But it's now that it's on document, people can screenshot it. And I just couldn't believe that guy had the audacity to put that article out. And then Free Press has the article up to this day. I saw it up today. Pull it down.
Well, this is my next point. Let's say Marlo Walter was a monk. He was a saint. He's never said a bad thing in the world, and he didn't have this sort of hypocritical angle of this story.
Okay.
And he writes it anyway. What do you make of that? Do you think it's a kosher article if he is clean? Because I don't like it.
No, who does? I mean, this whole the cancel culture is that's what they want. They want to get you and they want to tear you down. And when it's used correctly, it's so appropriate. Look at the GM that got let go today. He got let go immediately because of all the text messages and stuff that came out that he was doing inappropriate. That's a good version of, we found out about this, public outcry, get this guy out of here, right?
GM for the Mets.
Did you read that article that Jeff Passan and I can't remember is it Mila Casson or something? I'm sorry, I should know the attribution. Did you actually read the article though?
No.
It's hilarious. It's terrible, but there's the fact that this guy wrote, and I know you knew this fact.
Yes.
62 consecutive messages
unanswered. But
the story is so funny. The wording, I couldn't help but laugh. He sent 61 that were not answered. I love you. Come on, why aren't you responding? What's wrong,
You're
baby?
beautiful.
You're beautiful.
He sent a dick pic.
Yeah, but he sent a dick-ish pic. It was over the boxers type stuff. And so it's okay. You send 61. This is right in the story. The 60-second message was just his fully erect, naked penis. And it's just hilarious to me and then it stopped. So it's he sent 61, hey, love you, baby. Here's me and my boxers. No response for months. It's one thing if you're drunk one night and fire off 60 messages. This was over the course of months, no response. And I think it's so funny that he was finally fuck it, full Monty. We're going for the full Monty. Like it's just unbelievable. Yeah, Ben's throwing up some of this stuff.
Oh God,
that was one of like the.
Am I annoying you? Frowny face. Why won't you answer me, beautiful? Like, dude, you know why she won't answer you.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's funny. Like, I mean, not to pile on the poor sap, but I mean, he's not necessarily like George Clooney either. It's like, I don't know why you would think, we have no idea who this reporter is, by the way. I mean,
I have no idea what she looks like and anything.
The insinuation from the story is that she is an attractive lady. And it's like, I mean, look, you shouldn't do it anyway, but It's like, come on, man, take the hint. You've messaged her 60 times. Like, I'm all for, like, consensual. You want to get freaky, consenting adults can do whatever they want.
Of course.
Yeah, like, I don't judge, like, the weird, like, hey, if some chick wants a picture of your member, go for it. This was clearly unwarranted, but the fact that he went 61 messages, and the final one, it wouldn't even be as funny if he had sent something after, but that was like his final crescendo where he's just like, all right, I'm putting literally my dick on the table.
Right, like this is my last resort. If this doesn't work, I'm out.
Like that was the last bullet in the chamber. But yeah, so we digress.
Right.
I agree. That story, that guy needed to lose his job.
And that was 4 years ago, and that's something that, okay, it happened 4 years ago. Call him out for it. Get him out of his job. That's what Dan Campbell did. Okay, maybe it needs to be reported, because it is the guy coming in here to coach a $1 billion organization.
Yes.
And you look at what happened with Patricia when he came in. What happened with Patricia, I thought, was a lot more egregious than anything Dan Campbell did. And
what was alleged?
Alleged
sexual assault in a hotel room on spring break, and
that's a hefty allegation. Even to have that, and that's the scary part, whether it's true or not. It's still an allegation on your record. And the fact that nobody knew that as they hired that guy just kind of showed a little due diligence.
Did you remember Bob Quinn's remark when they asked him about it? He said, "It's not my job to do background check."
It is, Bob. Yeah. That's exactly your job, Bob.
It was your job. Like, it's not my job to vet the guy that I'm entrusting with the keys to this multi-billion-dollar operation. What an embarrassment he was.
But as far as this story goes, to me, it's a non-story. It got clicks for the free press. They got their money off of their Google ads or whatever they're running through, and there you go. But Marlo, I don't have much to say to Marlo.
Well, let me ask you, because you've worked in a different medium, but you have an extensive media background, and you've been, I don't know, operations manager at any point, but you've run stations.
Program director.
So you've been the boss.
Yes.
And you're the boss now. But if you're, one of them. If you're in that situation, you're the free press editor-in-chief, managing editor, whatever. Do you fire Marlo Alter?
Yes.
You do fire him.
You have to.
Why? Because it was 2012. He was probably 15.
I don't care. He represents your brand.
Yeah.
And what this does, this hurt your brand. It hurts your credibility. It hurts anything that comes out. And that's really what it's about when you're a boss at that level, is protecting your brand. Especially as a news organization, you got to protect your integrity. And if you don't have integrity, no one's going to read your shit anyways. So if you don't throw the axe at this guy and get rid of him, it just shows that there's really nobody running the show there, and that you're letting anybody write any article about anybody, whether they have credibility or not.
I'm watching it closely because, I broke the story 2016 about Drew Sharp, a now deceased, but at the time healthy and able-bodied reporter for them, plagiarizing David Harns, a blogger, Michigan State blogger, and got national traction, and the Free Press just botched it. They kind of like told Drew Sharp to take a paid vacation for a month. They never acknowledged it, never apologized. People in this town know, the Mitch Albom thing going back another 10 years. Mateen Cleaves and Morris Peterson are at the basketball game. He wrote the story in advance. They gave him a slap on the wrist. So the Free Press is notorious for kind of like under punishing or just sweeping things under the rug entirely. But I talked to one of my good friends in the Detroit media, not a Free Press associate, but works for a rival publication. Use your imagination. And I mean, he was telling me the new Free Press management is like totally different, and they're pissed. Like they're pissed about this, so they're having those discussions right now. Whether or not you fire him, I think you make the argument. And I'm not 100% either way. I think I probably would too, for the reasons you gave, protecting the institution.
Well, and what he said, man. What he said. Those screenshots live forever. And do you really want that guy going to a press conference or covering, It
was horrible stuff.
Yeah.
That's why I if I had to pick, I think you got to let him go.
Yeah.
But, and this doesn't have to be just about Marlo Alter, but I'm curious. And again, we don't know. I tried to research. We don't know exactly how old he is, but he's in his mid-20s. And so he said this stuff, the worst of it was 2011. He's 14 years old at the time, 15. He wasn't 19. I'm curious. Okay, we say we fire him. I happen to agree with you. I think you have to.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, society-wise, just societally speaking, this idea of no path to redemption, where we burn everybody, even the comments, I think his behavior was egregious, but he was also 15. I think he's probably not that guy anymore. Obviously, he was sincerely problematic stuff there. Do you not feel there needs to be some path to redemption where, okay, fire him, but this guy should not have his entire life ruined? Should he not have a path to redemption to where we maybe leave him alone in 5 years?
Yeah, I don't think this is going to follow him around the country. I mean, I think this is a hot story here because this is where it originated. But if he goes to Tulsa as a reporter, I don't know if it's going to pop up.
He might be done as a reporter, because if you just Google him. But, it's...
You change your pen name and go by something different. You get a new Twitter handle. Nobody's ever going to find, you know what I mean? And no, I don't, like I said earlier, the shit I said when I was 15 compared to the man I am today, like even the man I was when I was 25 compared to the man I am today. Two completely different human beings because of life experience, loss, love, all that good stuff that comes with it. So I'll never hold that against somebody. But as long as they've shown that they've improved, and I don't know this guy at all.
No, neither do I.
But I just know that if you're the type of guy to pull somebody's card when you're that type of dude, your integrity isn't there to begin with. So I really don't have any sad thoughts for him.
Well, yeah, and that's, I'm called to my face by some people on the show, Justin Rogers of the Detroit News, and fairly, I admit it, kind of like a cynical ass, and, I'm very open about it, and I had no authorization of what our producer Ben put together with our new solo show coming up, but the entire theme of it is like Justin Spiro's an asshole.
Yeah, congrats on that,
yeah,
man.
Well, yeah, thanks. That's wear it with pride, I suppose. But even I feel like a little bad for the guy when you go on his account, and it's literally, we put it up there. It's 1,500 people. There wasn't one guy that was like, hey, man, take it on the chin, chin up. It was like the mob is fucking out, which is, I get it.
But that's what he wanted for Dan, so I don't feel bad for him at all.
I feel less bad. I'm not even saying I feel like it's just a little. I hope I don't think society is better off. Just even when people make egregious mistakes, as long as you're not raping somebody, molesting children, that's the serious shit is unforgivable. I think we agree.
Oh, of course.
But stupid shit I said when I'm 14, even if it's like horrible shit. I mean, there have been people that were adults, reformed members of the KKK. That have left the KKK, and it's like those people need to go through a 10-year period of we think they're pieces of shit. But I just think society is better off. Are we not better off having someone that's like, I can speak intelligently to how stupid I was. I was a terrible person. I'm going to be on the streets.
But that's what he needed to do, and he didn't do it.
That's fair. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Hopefully he gets there.
America is a very forgiving society. Look at presidents do dumb shit all the time, then stand up there and ask for forgiveness, and they get it. Celebrities do dumb shit all the time, ask for forgiveness, but you got to own up to it. Like, I apologize for what I tweeted. Like, no, you need to be like, listen, I was a dumb kid. That was inappropriate. It is something I will never do again. It's something I'm ashamed of to this day. And I think we'd have a different tone about this right now than a staged-ass apology.
The thing that I wanted to see, and the most liked response to him, it had 2,000 likes on it, was someone being like, hey, asshole, you might want to mention Dan Campbell. Because the apology I would have liked to have seen would have been like, I understand hypocrisy in this. I shouldn't have done that. There was nothing about Campbell. It's it was just such a high horse article where you're trying to get the guy. And it's I'm with you. It's just, I don't like seeing anybody burn for even terrible shit if they said it and they were, not even legal adult.
Yeah, Marlo earned this heat, though. He wanted the smoke, and he got it, man.
Yeah,
he earned all the smoke.
He definitely earned it now. I'm not saying leave him alone today. I'm just saying, I hope the guy in 3 years is okay. I mean, I think he's paying a pretty big price. So we'll finish on this in terms of the Lions before we get to the speed round to sort of pivot back to that. It's the critical part of the offseason. Everybody knows Matthew Stafford.
Yep.
We could do 3 hours on Matthew Stafford. You have a show in the morning. We're not going to subject you or our audience to that. But just sort of briefly, lay it out. If you're Brad Holmes, you're the GM, let's say in this hypothetical world that I don't know if we live in, but you have been empowered to make the decision. There's no pressure from Sheila Fordham. Oh, Stafford's our guy, they did with Caldwell. What do you do? Do you move on? Is it time to draft a successor? Do you trade Stafford now? Do you keep him, draft a successor, and sit him for a year, a la Patrick Mahomes? What do you do? Where do you go with number 9?
Yeah, I think we're past the point of trading him. Obviously, with the salary cap hits that we got to take if we do trade him, it's almost pointless to. You're hurting yourself as much as you're helping yourself at this point. To me, his best value comes as the mentor. We draft somebody, doesn't necessarily have to be the number 7 overall pick, like pick someone in the 2nd, 3rd round, and hopefully let him groom them and bring them along. Or you bring somebody in, look at what the Saints did with Jameis Winston this year.
Yeah, the reclamation project.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like you take somebody like that and you let Stafford coach him up, and then 2 years down the road, move along, and because we got to have a plan moving forward. I love Stafford. I love what he's done for the organization. We haven't been able to get there with him. Partially on him, partially on the organization. That's just how this thing has worked out over these past 12 years. But he's been hurt the past 2 seasons. I don't like Chase Daniel. I don't want to see any more of Chase Daniel or his contract.
Yeah.
Let's invest in the future, and if he gets hurt, then we bring in the next guy up.
So your position is you keep him, but let's talk about succession plans. You said it doesn't have to be at 7. The quarterback position at this point, where you're months out of the draft, the season's not even over yet, it's the most difficult to project. It's the most fluid, I would argue, because it's the most dependent on the Wonderlic, how you interview, when they do the deep dive on you. Teams are not super concerned. They care. It's factored in. They're not as concerned about a wide receiver being kind of weird in the interview as they are the quarterback. Quarterback's your CEO. So we don't know if Justin Fields is going to be off the charts in his interview process, and he'll sort of reascend into that 2nd slot. He's since been dinged. I mean, Todd McShay had him at 15th a week ago.
Zach Wilson, man.
I happen to like Zach Wilson, but we don't even have to put a name to it. But one of those guys, Fields, Zach Wilson, Mac Jones won't get that high. But one of those guys, do you want at 7? Do you want him to go quarterback at 7?
I want him to go defense.
You want him to go defense?
Yeah, that's. Okay. I mean, we were 30th in the league. Our offense,
Micah Parsons.
Parsons wouldn't be bad. Petty out of Michigan. I like shearing up that offense or that defensive line. I want him to go defense, but I wouldn't hate it if we went quarterback there, if it's Justin Fields or Zach Wilson. One of those two there. Outside of that, Mac Jones, no.
Maybe in the 2nd round. Like I don't
have him going like top 15.
I was just gonna say I don't buy it. I think he's gonna slide. I don't.
He has no mobility. Yeah. Like he's a system quarterback.
Do you see the picture of him in the locker room without his shirt on? The guy looks like a offensive lineman.
Yeah, I'm not gonna judge that though. Remember Brady's combine picture?
Brady looked like a scrawny bitch. He didn't look out of shape. I mean, he just looked like not an athlete.
Right.
There's a difference. I mean, Mac Jones looks like he's been eating Big Macs all season. But, so, I mean, he's a guy that honestly, like, who knows? We talked about it. It's fluid. It wouldn't shock me if that guy slid. I mean, every year there's at least one quarterback that tumbles. And, maybe you do take him in the 2nd round, but I wouldn't
hate that in the 2nd round.
No, it'd be fine.
Yeah.
It'd be fine. And it's not mortgaging your whole future. If a 2nd round guy flops, it's not as damaging as the 7th overall. We'll see about Jeff Okudah. But, I mean, just we're finishing here. To what extent do you blame Stafford? Because this has been sort of a pet topic on this show.
Yeah.
Everyone that I've talked to has a different opinion. It runs the spectrum of fuck him, get him out of here. He's a loser. He's never won shit. He only beats up on the bad teams. He's a stat Padford. Or he's completely absolved. This is the Ford family. They're awful, whatever, and everything in between. Where do you land on that?
I'm kind of a centrist on this because I'll acknowledge that he's the greatest quarterback that the Lions have ever had.
Yes.
I mean, I don't think he's Hall of Fame quality, which some people go that far to say that, hey, he's going to be in the Hall of Fame.
If he had a ring or two, he would be.
If he had a playoff win or two, maybe. Let's not go ring yet, man. Yeah. We got to get a playoff win or two.
Yeah, you're right.
But at the same time, we haven't had a playoff win. He hasn't gotten us to that point when it comes
won a division.
When it comes crunch time. We haven't been. He hasn't had that moment. He did his rookie year against the Browns, and we've seen that over and over again. But that needs to be a playoff memory for him.
Yes.
Coming back against the Bears, in Soldier Field, doing that would cement him, I think. But I like him. You know, like I'm not mad that we've had him. I'm not in love that we've had him. It's been nice to have a franchise quarterback and not go through what the Bears have gone through or what we went through before Stafford was here. But I don't think he's the solution, and I don't think he's the problem.
I think he's good enough to win a Super Bowl somewhere else.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing.
But he can't be the guy.
No.
And that's the thing. Like when he's performed best, I think he's better than Flacco.
No, I agree, but Flacco was good enough to get you there.
Right.
But he's not going to be the guy anywhere. He was great in that one postseason run. He was phenomenal.
Yeah, when Stafford turned the best is when Jim Bob Cooter came in after Calvin left, which you thought he'd get worse when Calvin left. He got better when Calvin left, efficiency and all that, because he started to spread the ball around more, and it wasn't all on him. It was all on him to distribute the ball, not just bomb the ball down the field. And that's where he excelled. And I just think we've asked too much of him.
The only one that'll ever get this done, get this team, even if it's not winning the Super Bowl, winning playoff games, winning the division, they have to land a all-timer. Like, they have to get Aaron Rodgers. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to join that group.
Do you?
I'm
not sold on Lawrence.
Oh, my God.
Isn't that weird?
Oh, don't. No, come on. Terrible take by you.
Yeah.
Trevor, you don't buy okay, wait, we're at the end here. So,
yeah.
My God.
We'll get into that another time.
Oh, my God. He's transcendent. But even forget Trevor Lawrence. So Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, obviously. I would even argue, you could throw Russell Wilson in there. They need a transcendent quarterback to overcome this just heaping pile of shit that their history is. And Stafford's not that. Stafford's good enough to be in a good organization and be the guy that wins it for you with good guys around him and a good organizational infrastructure. They don't have it. But I think this is, again, something you and I agree on, where not all his fault, not totally absolved, could win somewhere else. So I think we're pretty much dancing there.
Yeah, no, I think we're in the same lane on that. I like
when
Stafford.
We agree on the line.
Yeah,
it's nice. It's refreshing for me because it's not.
And honestly, the Staffords have been great to Woodward Sports too, and so I got to show Kelly Stafford love for stopping by the toy drive and all that.
Well, no one's gonna thumb a nose at someone donating toys to kids. I mean, that's
no. And so if you get back to the community, you always get a soft spot in my heart, anyways.
And that's fair.
Yeah.
But and I'm not anti-Stafford. If anything, I kind of feel bad for him and want to see him, as much as you can feel bad for someone making $30 million a year. But I want to see him go win somewhere else. Like I'm Patriots fans have been kind of split on Tom Brady. He had a lot more success for them than Stafford had here. But like you see that kind of split of like, I don't want to see him win in Tampa. We're friends with a huge Patriots fan, Jag. He's like rooting for Brady actively with Tampa. If Stafford goes somewhere else, I'll be like the biggest fan of that team for 2 years or however long he's there. It's
like Verlander. That's the way I look at it. It's a lot like Verlander.
I rooted for him too.
Yeah, I love Verlander, and when he got his championship for the Astros, I was just as not just as happy, but I was happy for him.
Yeah. So I'm a huge Stafford fan.
Yeah.
I think I'm with you. So I know you've watched every show we've ever done. You're a huge fan. You're our biggest fan by far.
Yep, top fan on Facebook.
Yeah, top fan on Facebook. So I don't have to explain the entire concept of the speed round to you, but briefly for those that don't know, we do the speed round similar to word association. Similar, but you can say a couple sentences. You can say more than one word. So this is actually the longest speed round, which is an oxymoron that we've done because I had too many. I couldn't cut it down. I had like 25 I wanted to ask you.
Jeez, man.
Well, you have an interesting perspective on stuff. So
sometimes my brain operates too fast for my mouth, and things happen in speed rounds. Things happen in speed rounds.
You want another drink before we start?
A little more whiskey in me. Yeah. You see the red cheeks?
So we'll start here. 1 to 5 sentences, whatever you want to do.
Gotcha.
Nicest athlete you've met?
Nicest athlete I've met, Justin Verlander.
Justin Verlander.
Yep.
That's controversial because a lot of people say he's an ass. He was really nice when I met him too, though.
Yeah. I was hosting V Nightclub inside the MGM Grand. He came out with some of the Tigers. I went up to him. I was like, hey, man, you want me to announce that you're here? Because most athletes want everybody to know that they're in the building. He's like, no, I'm just here to have a quiet night and hang out. Brandon Inge, on the other hand, let him know I'm in the building.
I believe that. Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I like hearing someone else say he's nice because, I had like 2 interactions with him. He was great. And a lot of people have kind of not so nice stories about him, but he was cool to me.
He was cool to me, too.
So speaking of parties, I don't know, it's safe to say in another life at this point, you were, is it MC?
Yeah.
You're MCing.
Yep.
So you're out there, you're on the mic, you and Tyler Durden over there at Woodward Sports are big party guys. I'm curious for the craziest thing you've seen at a Detroit party specifically like a brawl or a celebrity coming in and spitting on someone? A craziest thing you've seen?
I mean, when you said brawl, the first thing I went to, I used to host Altered State at the State Theater. It was me, DJ Mike Scroggs, and DJ Godfather every Saturday night, 2,000 people. And one weekend, all of D12 was there performing, and Trick and Goon Squad, and all of them were performing. And one of the guys from Goon Squad was in the crowd trying to get up on the stage. The bouncers didn't know he's from the Goon Squad. Bouncers fought that guy. Goon Squad started fighting the bouncers, and it was a melee. I'm shepherding women like behind the stage, behind the curtain to keep them safe. Like it was, one of the bouncers that worked with us every week, I look out, his face is all bloody. Like he got hit in the face with a mic stand. So yeah, that was
that Ann Arbor or that's Detroit.
Detroit. It was State Theater, now the Fillmore.
Yeah, the Fillmore.
Yep.
Yeah. I know it as the Fillmore now. It was the State.
The State Theater, man. Altered State. Shout out to anybody who ever came there.
Did that end the night? I mean, you don't like start performing again an hour later, right?
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Oh yeah, they didn't care, man. They shut it down, got everybody cleared out, and the girls are drunk. They come back down on the dance floor and ready to rock again, man.
Oh, they must have had a good MC then. We'll give you all the credit. So moving on. This is a common debate I have, and this is a baseball one.
Ooh.
Comerica Park versus Tiger Stadium. You're old enough, you're a little older than me. I vividly remember going to Tiger games. I know you do too, right? You've had stories of you and your dad going. Just, obviously, Comerica Park's newer, it's nicer. But just the experience. You're going to the game with your dad or your buddy or whatever, that 2.5 hours. What's a better 2.5 hours?
Oh, Tiger Stadium. Tiger Stadium.
I agree.
Tiger Stadium
Why?
all day. And I think maybe just because I'm romantic about it. And like you said, like going with your dad, the wonderment of the big city coming, because I grew up in Detroit. Then we moved out to Novi, like Walled Lake area. And, like going to Detroit, like parking your car, walking a half a block to get there, the smells. It was a shithole, like my dad would prep me for what we were going to experience in the bleachers, and like I saw Frank Thomas, my favorite player at that time, hit a home run. It's just Tiger Stadium.
I agree. And, you were sort of touching on the sentimental note, which is all true and all valid. And I agree across the board. But even just like if it were here now and I was an adult watching it, the sight lines were a lot better. Like you could be in the last row of the upper deck in center field, and you were like, there's actually pictures of it that people have taken, like, and have been circulated before they tore it down. But you're like on top of the center fielder, even though you're in the last row.
Yep.
Comerica Park's much more like drawn back, and it's just a different vibe, and it's just different. But
I like Comerica Park.
Oh, so do I.
I do.
Huge Comerica Park.
But
fan.
yeah, I mean, like Mickey Mantle used to be in those. Ty Cobb used to be in those batters box.
Yeah.
Like the history that's there, and that's what I love. What Pal did with it, keeping the batters box there, and they kept the flagpole in the outfield and stuff like that. It's a nice homage to it.
So they do like youth baseball there. It's at Park now. And
yeah,
it's pretty cool.
Oh, it's amazing. I want an apartment by there.
Yeah, it'd be sweet.
Yeah.
It'd be sweet. So you'll be able to afford one with the growth rate over at Woodward.
Yeah.
Pretty soon. So yeah, going back to the comparisons in Detroit, we'll get to the next one. This is one of my favorite ones to throw out there. Dennis Rodman versus Ben Wallace. And I'll phrase it in this context.
Oh, man.
Let me phrase it this way. You're going into a 7-game series. Your life depends on it, and you have to start your team with one of them. Who you taking? Your life depends on the outcome of a 7-game series. Who you taking? So it's not who you like more. It's like who you taking in that spot.
Dude, these are my 2 all-time favorite Pistons.
Really?
So this is incredibly tough for me.
Good job by me in the prep, I guess.
Yeah. Initially when you first asked the question, I was going to say Rodman because I lost some respect for Ben when he left for a little bit more money. But then you rephrase it as a 7-game series, who you having, and it's not about where they're signing and stuff like that, and their loyalty to the team.
And it is a different question. And it's like, who do you like more? I mean, it's like in that spot because they're both. There's no bad answer. You're great if you have either one there.
Yeah, honestly, it's matchup based. Like, who am I playing? God, it's so hard not to say Dennis Rodman.
Yeah,
it's really impossible not to say Dennis Rodman, even though. Ben's a center and Dennis played, 3, 4, and 5 on occasion. So I take Dennis Rodman. I have to, man. He was my all-time favorite athlete growing up. I went to the Dennis Rodman basketball camp when I was little. I met him. Like, he was my guy.
Yeah, fair. I mean, you can't go wrong.
No.
We've done this once before, and I hear it was Adam or someone else picked Ben, so there you go. Speaking of comparisons.
Of course he did.
Well, yeah, there's no bad answer. Both great answers. Speaking of Detroit comparisons, we'll stay on it. This is maybe a cliche, but we'll go there. American Coney Island versus Lafayette Coney Island. You're a Detroit guy. Where do you fall?
I'm an American guy all day.
I say I like Lafayette.
Yeah, no, everybody hates on me for liking American more.
They're both good.
They are. I like the sweet onion compared to the spicy onion. And,
Okay.
And then American used to be the only ones with the real shredded cheese. You can only get the squeezed cheese from Lafayette. Now Lafayette has the upgraded cheese. That's why I used
Your
to.
grandfathering in the preference.
Yeah.
I mean, the bottom line is Lafayette's a bigger dump, and therefore, to me, has more charm. But
Yeah.
they're both great. Can't
No,
go wrong.
American's amazing.
Yeah.
I love American.
Fair
I've
enough.
had many drunken nights at American.
So we talked briefly before the show. This is the speed round. We could go 10 hours on this next. The Donald Trump presidency, which is ending in a few hours.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it's ending. I mean, not everyone's watching this live, but it's ending in about 14 hours. So
There he is.
Yeah. The Donald Trump presidency, in 3 to 5 sentences. I mean, you sum it up. It's done.
It is done. Well,
How do you
it's done for
summarize?
now. He can run again in 4 years.
Going the Grover Cleveland non-consecutive term
He did
route.
mention that in one of his speeches.
Yeah.
So to sum it up, it was controversial. It was eye-opening in a lot of ways, on a lot of levels, to a lot of people. The positive I'll take away from it is he was the first president in my lifetime not to start a new war.
Yep.
And I think that's important. The economy, even though we're going through a pandemic, the stock market has still survived. We didn't reach depression level. Yes, it's got scary at some point, and I think he's done well on that. Obviously, just wish you didn't have Twitter.
Well, doesn't anymore. But
Right. Oh, yeah. This problem could have been solved 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And I honestly think it would have been a much calmer, presidency. But I loved having that open veil behind that curtain. We've never seen that insight before.
It was cool in a macabre way.
It in a purely abstract way, yes.
Right.
But to me, it is what it is. It was history. I'm glad I lived through it. To me, it wasn't. I knew it wasn't going to be as bad as everybody thought it was going to be. But obviously, it got bad at some points. But so did every presidency.
Yeah. I knew a guy. He's University of Michigan grad now. At the time, he was a student, and he's 100% Indian, and he's huge liberal. And he was throwing out stuff right after the election. It was like late November. Paraphrasing, we're now almost 5 years ago, but he was like legitimately scared that like the Gestapo police were going to come like pick him up. And like, I'm sorry, like I didn't vote for Trump either time. I didn't vote top of the ticket in 2016. And I bit my tongue hard voting for Biden in this last cycle. I hated both of them. But so I'm no Trump guy, but yeah, it was overkill. Like people were overreacting, in my opinion, to the extent of how bad it was.
Yeah, I mean, you see that with every president, like I don't like to overreact either way to these things. Like when Obama got elected, you saw people going off the effing deep end too. When Trump, it just, like it got scary for some people that I know that I'm really close with. They became obsessed with it. And that's what it became. It just became somebody's focus as opposed to, listen, man, that branch of government, by the time anything they decide up there trickles down to you, like focus on your local branch of government. Yep. That's where you're going to make change. Those are the things that affect your life. Yes, taxes and all that stuff, blah, 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 blah. But I don't know, man. It's over and we made it and we'll move on. This is the greatness of America. I love this country no matter who the president is.
You have the Jeffersonian perspective that I do too, that local government's much more
of course
determinant of your experience in this country.
Yeah. If you really want to make a change, that's where you got to start.
Yep. So I think we're mostly aligned there. Don't like him, didn't like him, won't vote for him again if he does run back, try run a third time for a second term. But a little bit overstated, like you said, like it always is. People thought Barack Obama was a terrorist and not born here. I mean, it's like it's
stupid, man.
Brings out the worst.
It does, and it's only the fringe that are like that. Like the intelligent people are always going to be intelligent.
Yeah,
the dumb people are always going to go with crowds.
I'm exhausted from the whole thing. Frankly. This will be the last time I talk about it.
I loved it, man. When he got elected, I was happy. I wanted something new. Obviously, I didn't get everything I wanted.
Yeah,
but I also got some of the things I wanted. Like, look how many people pay attention to politics now.
Oh, yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see what, you're a media guy. The ratings, I have to think, are going to suffer because they're not going to have their pinata anymore.
Yeah, the salaciousness is out.
And the salaciousness is what sells. I mean, you know that. It's you're a media guy. You know. I mean, that's they don't have their pinata to whack around anymore.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what everybody talks about. I mean, even on Twitter now you see it's still mentioned nonstop. He's still mentioned nonstop in my timeline, and dude's not even on Twitter anymore.
Well, we'll see. He's still the president, but we'll see, in 6 months from now. We know how it's going to go. They're going to blame him for everything. Everything that Biden doesn't do well, it's going to be, because it was just too much to overcome, and both sides.
Yeah, that's what they did to Obama, too.
There's no, distinction there. It's everyone's the same sack of shit. I like to say I'm, one of the few honest people where I might be wrong as long as the day is long, but, I at least try to be honest. I don't shill for anybody. I call balls and strikes as I see them.
Yep.
So back to lighter topics. My favorite two logos in all of sports, both happen to be here, and I'm extremely biased, but I'm curious. Detroit Red Wings winged wheel versus the Old English D. Who is the better logo?
The Old English D to me. I mean, you see me rock my Tigers hat 95% of my life. To me, it's just the symbol of what the city is.
It's transcendent.
It's everything. It's it's the soul of the city. It's people get it tattooed on them. Downriver probably has the most Detroit tattoos.
Yeah, right.
But for real, I wear my Detroit hat whenever I travel and everything, and people acknowledge it.
They're both great. Can't go wrong with those two.
Yeah, Red Wings, great logo. Detroit though, that D stands for more than the Tigers.
I'm with you. Yep, I think you nailed it.
Yep.
Last one. This is a new one for us, and it's a very sad topic.
Oh no.
Ben editorializing.
No! Why would you show this?
I know. He is showing Robert Horry. I was watching that game in Las Vegas. I wanted to hang myself. What Detroit sports result would you undo so you can change the result of a single game in Detroit sports history? What's the one game you can flip the result?
I mean, that's got to be it. I think you guys nailed it with Rasheed Wallace leaving Robert Horry for that 3. To me, that was the Pistons. That could have been a massive dynasty. They would have gone back for at least to compete for a 3-peat. You keep that core together. Larry Brown's not going anywhere if they win it again.
The argument against it is you can flip that result and argue that San Antonio then wins game 6 and 7 in San Antonio. Whereas if I flip the result of the 2009 Stanley Cup Finals, for example, in game 7, it's like, I got the cup if I flip that result. I know I win.
That was a tough loss, man. I was at the Fox Theater for that. That was a tough loss.
My story, which is even a step down from this Spurs one that we're talking about in Game 5 at the Palace, it's even a full 2 steps back probably, was Fenway Park in 2013 where Ortiz, I was at that game.
It's that bomb to right field.
Well, yeah, it's 5-1 in the 8th inning. The Red Sox haven't done shit with the bat in 2 games. I'm sitting with my buddy James. And literally, Benoit's warming up, and he's my witness. He'll go to his grave saying, I said it to him. I said, don't give him shit to hit. Mike Napoli's on deck. Bases loaded, 2 outs. You have the most clutch hitter in David Ortiz in our lifetime, some say ever, in the batter's box. Don't give him anything to hit. I'm not saying intentionally walk him. Don't put the arm out. 4 pitches in the dirt away. If you walk him, great. He's going to be up there jacked up. He's probably going to swing at some garbage anyway. I don't care. Walk him. I'm up 5-2. Now I just got to get Mike Napoli out. I have 2 outs. Why are you? He throws him a fucking meatball right down the middle. That would be mine.
Yeah, that one hurt. I mean, yeah.
You're going with the Spurs, though.
I am, because to me, that's just the most vivid in my mind. I mean, we could go back to the 91 playoffs for the Lions. Maybe they could beat the Redskins. That would be nice.
Yeah.
I would take, but there's not one specific play I can point to in that game. That play right there.
Right.
They would have taken 1 going to San Antonio.
I agree. And they ended up, they did. It changes.
They took game 6.
Yeah. And they were tied going in the fourth quarter of game 7.
Yep.
So it's like they were right there. That one will kill me forever. So.
And I wonder why Sheed left, man.
One of the smartest defenders in his era.
And that's Robert Horry. Well,
and if you give up the 2, you still have the ball and you're tied. So you get the last shot to avoid an overtime and win. Or you go into overtime. The one thing you couldn't do is give up a 3. Not only do you give up a 3, you give it to the most clutch 3-point shooter of his generation.
All time. All time.
Probably ever.
Yeah. Big Shot Bob. You don't get the name Big Shot Bob because you're not hitting those 3s.
And he already had it at that time. That just kind of further accentuated the legacy. But Yeah, what a depressing. That was a bad job by me throwing that out last. What a terrible way to end. So we'll end with
That's what we're ending on.
we'll end with this. Woodward Sports, check them out. Love what you're doing.
Thank you, man.
Just rooting for you.
Appreciate it.
Tell Adam I said what's up.
I will.
Wish you guys well. Appreciate you joining me, and I would love to have you back at some point. I think it'd be fun to actually have you and Adam in. We do have an extra mic in the back there with an extra chair. We'll wheel it out. I'd love to have both of you back.
Yeah, that'd be fun. No,
Yeah.
I mean, like you mentioned earlier, you want to see Adam more on the air. Right now, we're really dedicated to building this thing from the middle out, and he's been busting his ass doing all the groundwork. So
yeah, no, and I get it. So you'll get
he's
there.
too smart for his own good. He can do everything well. So sometimes
he's sinking his own battleship.
He is.
Yeah.
He's got to be like me, a one-trick pony. And then it's like, just talk.
You and I, we have two tricks between us, and so we're each bringing one to that equation.
Yep.
Yeah, it's funny. Like we had a mic issue a couple months ago, and the guy's like, who was the guest? Can't remember if it was Wharton or someone, but it was like, hey, man, like we got to fix the mic, like it wasn't positioned right. I was like, hey, Ben's got to come in here, man. Ben? Yeah. Like he's like, hey, can you fix my mic? I'm like, no, I really can't. So
yeah,
but wish you well, man. Appreciate your time. I know you got a show to prep for tomorrow morning, so hopefully we didn't keep you too late. And rooting for you, man. It was a pleasure.
Hey, thanks for having me, and a big fan of yours too. Obviously, we stole your street sign. We talked about that a little.
It's all right.
But no, man, keep doing what you're doing. I see. When's the last time I was here? 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, 2017. So it's over 3 years ago, I think.
You're evolving too, man. So it's great to see. Keep doing what you're doing.
No, we will. We're keeping after it. So we'll be checking you out tomorrow. You guys should too. Woodward Sports. I do the Facebook thing, so I guarantee if you watch them tomorrow morning at 8:00, you will see me in the chat because I am always in the chat chirping them. So.
Yeah, with an awesome crew in there too. Isn't that fun? That's become like a little community.
Yeah, they call themselves Woodies. Yeah. I consider myself too cool to give myself any nicknames, but I'm like a sort of the original member of that group. I say. I mean, I was there on day one, and like I said, support you all the way. So check them out. You will see me there tomorrow and pretty much every day, 8 to 10. They have a number of other programs too, and I recommend checking them all out. Sean Blegian, friend of mine, doing a show with Joy Bell. He's at 11 to 1. And
then we're adding a 3 to 5 coming up.
With
a couple big names.
So you can't tell me who that is?
I can't tell you just yet.
Okay.
This is my tease for it. Yeah,
okay,
wait for it. You'll like it, though. You'll like it.
I'm sure I will. All right. So check them out, Woodward Sports. This is Sam Stick Day joining us. We're going to have him back. Shout out, and all the appreciation goes to the other man on the side of the wall here, Ben Augusta, our producer, who does 97% of the work associated with this program.
Thanks,
I just talk and get yelled at by people and yell a little bit in return.
So. By the way, Sam, Speak Easy Sports said, "Tell my man Stick I said what up, Del."
Yeah, Speak Easy. That's a guy you should have on too, man.
Yeah, I've heard that.
He actually said in the comments, "I'd also love to have Justin." I guess on his
I'm like the secondary. I'm just like the fucking appetizer.
No, man, that's the cool thing about this. Like that's let's all show each other love and we'll all grow together, man.
I'm with it. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. It's like rising tide raises all boats kind of perspective.
Dude, I've said that quote like 100 times. A lot of people don't know that quote.
Oh, come on.
Isn't that weird?
People are not as smart as you and me.
People are like, what are that boat quote you keep saying?
Yeah,
I'm like,
the boat quote. Yeah. Anyway, so check them out. Ben Augusta, I love you, man. Thanks for being the great and powerful Oz behind the curtain. Love the listeners. You guys have been great, supportive of us. We appreciate it. The solo show Off the Curb is coming any day. We'll announce that very, very shortly. We're going to lock in the exact date. And I'm looking forward to it. More and more content here, and we're going to bring you a lot. So thank you. This has been the Spiro Avenue Show. We'll be back in a couple days with more. Thank you all.